Hey guys, very quick one again. It's 13th of August 2022. So the top menu is pretty much fixed. We could probably do some more styling upon that, but it works how we intended it. There's a div there that shouldn't be there. There you go. And the big we've got our banners working again to fix those things. We've got our syntax highlighting blocks working again, and we've got our new command listings appearing at the bottom, and the styling of those is not breaking the page, which was happening before. But before, when I add the two things together and try to style them up, it spilled out and was affecting everything else. But the only drama at the moment is that all the styling here is all white, and I want these to be actually maybe this off color here as well, or at least respond when you're over the top of them, so they appear like something that's clickable. Yeah, and that with that we get back to a point where the page works. There's still some weirdness here, like that's in the center for some reason. We probably don't need the footer if there's no actual code attached, so we can make a bit of logic to clean that up there. And they do work. You can go across takes it to the page and go back again. So that should save people a lot of trouble. Now, not so much when it's here on the main website for the time being, but in the longer term when it's migrated to the forum, etc., and everywhere else where the PlayBASIC code snippet's going to appear, I can put the same bit of decoding code in that, customize the style sheets, and that should be doable. I say should because things never quite seem to go right when you do this. For me, anyway. What else have we got left? Of course, we are talking about the old design. We've got some crappy space up here. They should probably be links, I would say, to take you to, so you don't have to use the drop downs to find things that are relative to what you're searching for. So if you look for something, see how it's got sprite and animation, you might go, oh, okay, I want to get the code that's based on sprites, and just click the sprites there, will take you to all of them, all of those, rather than have to go up here and go through sprites, find sprites up here, do that. There is a mask by author, but oh no, these do have different authors in them. There you go. Ian Price. Okay, so there's no snippets from him under that tag. They have that tag in it, but there's just general ones from him. There you go. There needs to be we've got one video in there, which is good, but there's no screenshots with those ones as well, and going back and doing that for old examples is a lot of work. But when you're not really sure about what size screenshot you should actually have, I think when you upload from the back end of this, it formats all thumbnails to, they're tiny, like 32 by 28 or something like that. Probably this size over here, where the gallery is. So it actually takes the image, scales it down, and saves the thumbnail right there. It doesn't really need to do that. Like if your screenshots are very large, you can actually have a thumbnail that was maybe as long as the size isn't too bad, and you loaded things that are off screen. So you could probably have a layout here that was too wide, and maybe the same, maybe 4 columns high where it's going to be. So you're scrolling a little bit, but not much. Then when you click on it, you would go to a page like the tools page over here, which is the same principle, where we just display information about that particular project. And that would be a way of condensing more information into what we already have, rather than linking off the site to somewhere else, which is what we're doing at the moment. Back here in the gallery, if you hit I think those links, well, they go, that's a forum link there, so it takes you to the conversation on the forum. Yeah. Whereas if you click the picture, you get, yeah. I might update the viewer as well, actually, if I can find a more up-to-date one there. But for the time being, I think we are back to it working, and we can probably put this online and just check how we're going with it. See what's broken when it's uploaded, because there will be things that are broken. Template-wise, the vast majority of the website is now coming from this template file from one place, which means that if you swap the templates over those elements and you keep the same basic information about them, like you keep the keywords where elements are being inserted back into, you get a different design but the same processing code that does the same thing. That's what we need, you know. I was gun shy about doing the whole thing, redoing the whole thing up front because of that. Because there's a lot of different parts, and it's like having to write a new phraser from something else and going back and relearning that stuff. And this is still a pale imitation of what the other CMS can actually do, but we're in a form now where we're much closer to that. You know, we're kind of stepping across. So I have to look around at making a template that's based on Bootstrap or something like that, which would affect the HTML portion of this. So because at the moment we scale up actually. At the moment we're not really supporting browsers or devices that have a small screen size. So mobile phones, and that's causing us to be penalised in Google. Because the design here is a fixed width. I think it was 900 pixels across. I can definitely change that dynamically. It's not really that difficult. We can make it wider. That's perfectly fine. And have a limit to how wide we think the page should go for those people. So on a wider screen, maybe, and if the code understands we're viewing a wider area, we could change the number of shots per row, for example, and it wouldn't have an impact on us. So if we change to a 2 shots per row thing, or what it's going to be, or maybe there's a title up the top here with a sliding carousel, which you can do in Bootstrap. You can't really do it here because it's too much hassle. But something to think about. But I do like the idea of, because I do have more shots of these projects here. Well, looking inside the galleries behind the folders that have this stuff in them, there are multiple pictures for each one. So we're not even using it. We're just using whatever's uploaded first, and that's the shot you see. I know for Fox's sake, there's a whole bunch of pictures from that. And Steve's ray tracing stuff from recently. There's more shots of that as well. What do we even have in here? I don't know. 100 different projects that are up on here, and they're hard to tell what's going on. There's some really old ones there, aren't there? Does that link even work or not? Well, there you go. That was from the Dark Basic days. I wrote an engine in Dark Basic, a software rendering engine. So I had the idea about doing the visibility tool. I needed to have something that would match Dark Basic's 3D engine in general, so I had to write something. The only trick was just getting the rotational orders correct to match it. The rest was simple. But that version was super slow, so I ported that code across to PlayBASIC because DB didn't have a filled polygon command. So the version you see on this, see in here, is accelerated because it's got the filled polygon command. There are no videos of this. Well, there you go. I thought there were. Oh, they're updated videos from other bits and pieces that are based on the same basic principles. I was just trying to think when this stuff was done. That was I think Visible Worlds was like 2002, so that's 20 years ago. I've done a handful of things since, but not a lot. Anyway, back to the point. The point is we are back at a point where this is kind of working, and we can make a substitution back up online. That's all I want to say, actually. Still got some crappy stuff. I'd love to have a div here that opened up so you just scroll down the questions and then click the answer that you wanted to see. Another thing with compatibility with a site with mobiles is they don't like frames, and when you have videos inserted like that, they're a frame. And basically, if Google sees a frame in your design, it thinks your page is not responsive, so it can't scale down for mobiles. I don't know what to do about that. I guess now we have a template, I can actually have a value that gives us this total width here, and if we do have a more narrow design, we can actually tell it to be short, be more narrow, cut it down somewhat, and then scale these appropriately to that size. I think in the short term that's probably something we could mess around with, or I can mess around with. In the longer term, we'd have to have, I think this side menu here would have to disappear. If you scale the whole page, if you narrowed it down, yeah, which seems to be what happens with mobile. So in a very simplified version of the page. I'm not sure our text even would make sense there. I did notice too that there's a bit of code in the phraser that renders the page out. So the phraser is, we have these square brackets. We don't use HTML inside the page descriptions, unless it's, sometimes it is necessary to put a bit of HTML on those pages, but the least you can get away with, the better. If you don't have HTML, it means your tags are all understood and part of the template. So when it's running through and producing the actual HTML from your markdown copy, we then go to the template, get the HTML for this element, and insert that in its place. So whenever that element is used right across the site, like the code thing now, for example, that's universal. It never used to be. It used to be part, I don't know one that's even got examples with it. Ones here that say source code. The code snippets in those or not? No, they're not. Bear with me. Oh, that was one that had one in there. Yeah, there you go. So, whereas beforehand, if you wanted to have a code snippet appear on any page, I had to drag the phraser across, call the phraser, add code to that whole thing for that thing to happen. Now, any page where I put, a PB code code block on it, will get this output. That's what we want. We want this just as child-proof as possible. So I'm pretty dumb. We need to make those global links to a more appropriate color. They're just whatever the default color was all those years ago, and that link there can have a nicer button, just to make it look like it's been updated and cared for. So when people have seen the site in the past, because it hasn't changed for such a long time, people just think we're dead. Even the fact that content gets uploaded or added to here occasionally. Wow, the last one was back in May. So What are we now? August. Jeez. Yeah, there you go. So even things like these banners in here, we could have a style that represents certain banners that would make the output of these things more consistent. Sorry, whether it's a style or whether it's actually that icon there, that needs to go. I get why we had it there for news items, but it shouldn't be there. Anyway, so my point is that we have this markdown stuff and we have as little HTML inside that as possible. It means that when the template is changed, the behaviors for the pages are the same. And if it works with the first template, it'll work with the second template. Or third or fourth. We might take a couple of times to get this right. Well, knowing me, it will take a few times to get this right. Anyway, so our website's coming back to life. We do need to have... This is just the styling aspect of it. We might be able to just drop in a membership element into here and then transfer across the things for like a members area from the downloads part here. Like I can make these appear optionally, whether you're logged in or not. That's perfectly simple. And that'd be sort of cool. So when you're logged in, there is content available to you. Even having an account on here would make... I think probably what we should do actually is we should allow pictures to be seen, but you can't download things unless you have an account. At the moment, the links are public, so you can download those from anywhere. But that's costing us in terms of bandwidth. So when bots come along and follow these links, they can effectively take the site down because it's chewing up too much bandwidth on our shared host, which has happened before. All this stupid stuff sucks, and I really have no patience for it. But anyway, that's tomorrow's thinking. This is where we are today. If you have any dramas, drop them in the commentary below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.